Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I'm the Compliance Evangelist, and I would like to welcome you to a special 5-part podcast series sponsored by Affiliated Monitors on strategies for corporations and corporate compliance programs under the new DOJ guidance issued in 2018. First, a word about Affiliated Monitors. Founded in 2004 and celebrating its 15th anniversary this year, indeed this month, Affiliated Monitors provides professional, independent integrity monitoring and ethics and compliance assessments nationally and internationally and across almost all industries. With its knowledge of effective ethics and compliance programs and cultures, Affiliated Monitors is respected for its work as the corporate monitor on matters ranging from multinational corporations to small and mid-sized companies and even individuals. Having served in over 700 monitorships, no one has more experience as an independent monitor than the team at Affiliated Monitors. For more information on how an independent monitor can help improve your company's compliance and ethics program, please visit our sponsor, Affiliated Monitors, at their website, www.affiliatedmonitors.com. Over the course of this 5-part podcast series, we'll discuss some of the new DOJ guidance that came out in 2018, what companies can do with it both internally and externally, how a strong compliance program can be used as both a sword and a shield, and what are the benefits of using a third party to fulfill your compliance mandate. In this concluding episode 5, I visit with Ben DiCiani on utilizing a third party to fulfill a compliance mandate. Hello again, this is Tom Fox, back for our 5th episode in our 5-part exploration of strategies for dealing with corporations under the new DOJ guidance. Today I have back with me Ben DiCiani. Ben is the founder and CEO of Affiliated Monitors. Ben, first of all, welcome, and I believe you have an announcement for us to begin with.
Yes. So, Tom, great to speak with you again. And you have been very kind to Affiliated over these podcasts. And, we are celebrating in January of 2019 our 15th anniversary as a monitoring company. So it's quite a milestone to take what was an idea from me many years ago and put it into action and to be still going strong at age 15.
Ben, I hope that we can explore that topic alone on a separate podcast. But today I wanted to close out this series by visiting with you on some of the benefits to third parties to fulfill a compliance mandate. And in part 4, in episode 4, I was able to visit with Eric Feldman, and he started to talk about that. I guess the first thing I wanted to start with is one of the things that I've continually heard you guys talk about in speeches and papers, in face-to-face meetings, is the proactive monitoring. Why do you think that is so important now? And even more importantly, why should you have a third party come in as a proactive monitor?
Yeah, it's something that we believe in very strongly, and we're doing a lot of this kind of work. One of the things that Rod Rosenstein said in Compliance Week has sort of resounded with me. And he indicated that the cost of compliance is money well spent. The cost of non-compliance is an expensive missed opportunity. And when you think about it, that sort of speaks volumes to what this new guidance is all about. And that is for companies to take a serious look at their own compliance programs. And as I've talked about before, and Eric has talked about before, we see companies that just don't have the capability to do an honest and deep assessment of their own programs. And so, the consideration here is bringing in an outside third party, a professional, a compliance company that is independent and neutral and doesn't have sort of the biases that, an internal review would have, to look at a compliance program. And so the sort of the term, independent monitor, independent consultant, independent, proactive monitor, all of those are sort of interchangeable, but the idea is to bring in an outside entity with knowledge and experience to look at a program. So I think that's the sort of the consideration here. So the idea, if I could sort of put it in sort of a nutshell, is it's proactive monitoring to avoid an imposed monitor, right? So that's the idea.
Now, let's just pick up on that because I think that's something we really don't talk about enough. You've obviously been a monitor. I've worked at a company that has had a monitorship, but to use the proactive monitor, not only proactively to help garner a better result with the department, but to perhaps proactively stop an external monitor after a corporation has settled with the Department of Justice. Why is that important in your opinion?
So a proactive monitor, coming in to a company and they're not in trouble or there's something going on and they want somebody else to come in to assess the program, can be a very effective tool to get to the sort of the root cause of what had happened, right? An imposed monitor is coming at it from sort of a different vantage point because they are sort of imposed. And their mandate is not necessarily to look at all aspects, or it might be very specific in things that they're looking at. So, in the proactive sort of approach, having a monitor in place, it's what happened with Rolls-Royce, right? At the SFO. When Rolls-Royce entered into its deferred prosecution agreement, it had an internal monitor already. Lord Gold was already looking at things, and that the monitor then became, sort of a part of the process. Now, that would not necessarily work here in the U.S. because of the independence required of the monitor. But I think you get, as I said before, I think you get special consideration, and so some of the things that the proactive monitor is doing is sort of focusing the company on whatever deficiencies might exist within their program. It might be fixing the root cause problems by implementing controls and processes. But more importantly, the independent monitor, and this is something that happens over time, can look at the company's efforts to implement those changes and then maintain them. I've always, contended that one of the benefits of a monitor is not the fact that we are doing the independent oversight, but that what we're doing is we're validating the efforts that the company is making to fulfill a mandate if it's imposed, or to fill, the recommendations when it is done proactively. I think that's one of the strengths of a good monitor, is taking all of the things that the company's doing and saying, that's real. They have done that. And here's how we saw that. And we saw it here, and this is what we saw there. And here's, something that was created that is very effective. In fact, it's a best practice that we've seen. That's a very important element, Tom. And I think that sort of distinguishes sort of that proactive approach.
Then, being from Houston, I always tell the story of Enron when the initial whistleblower Sherry Watkin came forward, made her allegations. Enron hired its outside counsel, Vincent Elkins, to assess its own work. And I don't need to tell you what the assessment came up with. As I tell people, if you ask me to assess my own work, I can tell you now what the answer is going to be. It's great. Yeah. But so why is the independent part of the assessment so critical?
Well, again, we don't go in with any preconceived notions. We don't have any judgments. We don't have any biases. It truly is a blank slate that we're looking at, and so because we've done so many of these, there are things that you look for, yes, on paper, but also from all of the other information and data that you gather, as part of the assessment. So I use those words objective and, professional and all of those kinds of things. Those are great strengths of a third party coming in. And it just gets way beyond sort of the implication, of, it's a preconceived, and ordained conclusion. Everything's great, and they're doing a great job. You're not going to get that. You're going to get an honest and fair assessment, and you're going to make a company look at itself in perhaps a way that, it never has before. we did a monitorship a number of years ago, and we found out a lot about the company. The company was not very good at taking the temperature of what was going on in the field. And I can remember Eric and I being at reporting to the board on our findings. And, it was very clear that they had some work to do. And I can remember the chairman saying to the people in the room, the people on the board, our people have spoken, and this is what they need, and this is what they want to see. And that was very telling to me because, again, I don't think that they would have gotten that type of report from somebody internally. So I think that that's sort of why an independent just makes a lot of sense. One of the things I wanted to do, Tom, is in the final couple of seconds, is talk about upside and downside of bringing in an outsider, if that's okay.
You bet.
So the upside of bringing in, I think we've been talking about it, is bringing in an independent expertise, professionalism, experience, also efficiency. Doing a lot of these assessments, there's an efficiency that's created, and the company itself doesn't have to recreate a wheel to assess itself. All of those tools are already created. So what happens when you're doing an assessment as an outsider is you allow the company to continue in its business. And you, as the outsider, you're watching the company while it's working. So I think that it would be a great distraction to do it internally. That's why I think one of the benefits is of an external is just that it allows the company to do its work and let the expert do the assessment. And as I said, sometimes the expertise of the independent can reveal companies that the company may never have been aware of. And some of them are subtle. Some of them are like lots of people, there's a strain of paranoia in the company that the company may not be aware of, or other kinds of things like you keep changing every day. It's too much. Or you better change because you're not doing anything. Those are the kinds of things that you can see and some of the benefits of an outsider coming in. The downside of an outsider coming in really goes to whether a company is, I'm going to call it mature enough and comfortable with having an outsider coming in and looking at the dirty laundry, right? So some of the concerns that companies have, loss of control. So you have an outsider coming in and looking at internal controls, processes, talking to people, right? That can be sometimes discomforting for some. Others love it. They love the idea of an outsider coming in and actually drilling down. Another downside or some concern is sometimes the recommendations that an outsider would make do not necessarily jibe with, what's going on in the company. And so the company that's being, assessed may say, that's a little too much. For us, at Affiliated, we get that, and so we can deal with, adjusting the recommendations. The other thing that I think is sometimes a criticism of outside assessment companies coming in is what standard are you holding a company to? Is it a gold standard or is it sort of the reasonable man standard? And I think that that's important. We take each engagement that we have and look at the company size, industry, how it compares to others, so benchmarking some of those kinds of things. I think that that's one of our strengths. Some don't do that. Some just say, this is the standard of a good compliance program. And if you don't meet it, you're out of here, or, you need to make great adjustments. So there are upsides and downsides to the benefits and sort of some of the disadvantages of using an outsider.
Well, Ben, unfortunately, we're near the end of our time, but this has been a fascinating 5-part exploration of strategies for corporations under the new DOJ guidance. Thanks for taking the time to visit with me.
It's always a pleasure, Tom.
Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox again. I hope you've enjoyed this 5-part exploration of the Department of Justice's guidance issued in 2018 in various pronouncements and how it will impact your compliance program and how you as a compliance practitioner can utilize it going forward. For more information on our sponsor, check out their website, www.affiliatedmonitors.com. This 5-part exploration has been a special presentation of the Compliance Podcast Network.